Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Paul Elam with A Voice for Men, and welcome to a very, very important interview. Let me give you a little bit of background on this before we get started. Dan Perrins, a well-known MHRA for years from Ontario, Canada, is with me. Dan has just completed a 75-mile walk in order to bring attention to men's mental health issues. One of the things that he is most concerned about is male suicide, particularly in Canada, which is losing 8 men per day to suicide. There's not much attention paid to this problem at all. He's also been very concerned with the issue of domestic violence in men and how they are treated when they seek help for services, and the fact that they just basically don't have much available to them at all. These issues are very near and dear to Dan for a couple of very personal reasons that I know he won't mind sharing. One, today marks the anniversary of his brother's suicide, which he lost, I think it was in 82, Dan, was it?
Yeah, it was May 8th, 1982. Yeah, 33 years ago today.
And also regarding the DV problem, there is Earl Silverman. We just passed the 2-year anniversary of his suicide. Earl tried for years to bring attention to the DV problem where men were victims in Canada. And hey, Dad, you got to quit making that noise, bud. It makes the camera go do funny things. But Earl tried for years to get a shelter going for men who were victims of domestic violence, and tragically ended his life in suicide after his efforts were frustrated, and in fact after he was mocked and derided by the DV industry in Canada. Most people, Dan, after a 75-mile walk would figure out, they would get themselves into their home or to a home and a bed and a nice big hot meal and a nice relaxing time in front of the TV. 75 miles is a lot of walking, but you elected instead to finish your walk by approaching the Queen's Park Legislative Assembly building and handing a list of demands and announcing that you were entering a hunger strike until those were answered by the government. Absolutely remarkable actions on your part. Why don't you, I've tried to give some background, why don't you give some, just some details on what led you to this particular moment?
Well, when I started off, Chief Glenn DeCare, Hamilton Police Services, helped me deliver, the original, men make up 76% of all suicides in Canada. There's two disturbing peaks there. One at about 20 years old, one at about 50 years old. So where they are, those year-old age ranges, 80% of this. Now, in essence, what we're doing is burying our sons and our fathers, and that's absolutely atrocious. Now, Chief Glenn DeCare was willing to walk to the City Hall in Hamilton with me. And I understand he's a busy man, but when I got to Burlington, the police showed indifference, and I could not figure it out. And again, it happened in Oakville, and Mississauga, I had to skip their City Hall because it's just so far north of where I was walking. All right, it would probably tacked on another, maybe 8-10 miles or something like that. So, I got to thinking, geez, this is absolutely ridiculous. And it bothered me and bothered me and bothered me. And then, it came down to last night, the temperature was, supposed to jump up to 32 degrees Celsius, not Fahrenheit, Dean. We're in Canada, eh? So that means no snowflakes. It means puddles. Because
I'll tell you, Dean had me convinced you were walking through a blizzard at night to get there.
I did not explain that to him. When I made the choice, it was on the fly. I could not subject Jeb to walking in that type of weather. It just would not happen. So the smart call to ensure that I was here for May 8th was to walk through the night. So let me see. Yes, I haven't slept really since, I don't know, maybe noon yesterday or something like that. I don't know. I got up and I started walking. I think we, had a couple little, maybe 45-minute cat naps, but not much. And we just started walking. You can see my progress on the Twitter, getting closer, getting closer, getting closer. Princess, the Princess Gates there. I passed on by there, and I passed by a toy soldier kind of statue, and one toy soldier was standing, and the other was, had fallen down. And I thought, geez, this is, they're taking it as a game. These male lives, it affects military, disproportionately high numbers, first responders, disproportionately high numbers, and it we already know the numbers for, just the average population, 76% across all age groups. And it really, really bothered me. And I really couldn't, I made it this far. I thought, why not?
So you went all the way.
We'll turn up the. Well, yeah. Well, because because they're in a blind year, that kind of, made up my mind for me.
And that, was it the indifference that you experienced from some of the places you visited that fueled your decision to step up to the police part? Yeah.
Yeah, the Burlington Police City Hall and the Oakville Police Department. And brutally blunt here, going on.
Could you repeat that, Dan? We're having some glitches with your audio because of the connection, and I really want people to hear this about that experience.
Yeah, like the experiences with the Burlington Police and the Burlington City Hall was that, let me be brutally clear on this. Recording devices were going. So, the evidence is there of their indifference. And the people that we asked to protect us, to rescue us in our time of need, we're failing them. We failed my brother, and that's heinous enough. But those who could have 1980 accept us failing them as well.
And so now you've decided that you're going to go on a hunger, or that you're now, I guess, officially on a hunger strike at this point. Tell us about that, about going up there and delivering your demands. What was that experience like?
Well, we had informed them that I was coming. Made a phone call to security, told them, hey, we're coming in peace, sort of deal. Offenses intended or anything like that, but I want to deliver some documents, and it's a 3-page document. For stats, cans, numbers, and the third's just a picture of me and Jeb. I also had one that full funding for male domestic violence shelters in Canada. I've only delivered these documents to the Ontario government, so at least in Ontario. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Ontario shelter industry, it runs at $143 million for the 2012-2013 fiscal year, according to the Auditor General's reports. Approximately 83 directly in themselves, and the other 60 some odd million goes into, I guess, advertising, awareness campaigns, things like that. I wouldn't be surprised if White Ribbon there might, be grabbing at that, that money there, and enjoying enjoying the benefits of that while ignoring, the other half abused population. So anyways, they get, it's basically a $1 million industry, 143, 42, somewhere in there. Now, what I found really incredible was that when I looked through the report, what I found was that the range for one bed, for one abused woman, one bed, the range numbers was $90 to $575. And my God, that ain't, because there's nothing out there for guys. And I went through hell crap that was pulled on me by a couple of, not too honest women. I'm going to be, nice about it. And so, that kind of angered me even more. Like, what are they doing with $575 per bed per night? Are they sending them down to Casino Rama for, a 5-star hotel? What's going on here? And why are you basically tossing guys out into the street no matter what? Matter of fact, they're promoting for, even shelter for dogs, which, I love, before men. So where does that put men at, where does that put men on, as humans geez, we'll treat we'll treat dogs and cats better than we'll treat half the human race. I don't like that too much, and so yeah, I studied my stuff, and there's that there. I also can't, in good conscience, I don't understand why they don't hold Professor Holly Johnson accountable for her crap at the Ottawa Coalition to End Violence Against Women. Not only, like, twice they've reworked that domestic violence paper, and they're still wrong on it. And she's considered a statistical expert. So why are we paying these people for fraud? I don't get it. Why are we paying these entities, these organizations for fraud? I don't get it. So I just thought about these things. And I'm like, yeah, we got to act like now, because there was 3 guys in Ontario who killed themselves yesterday, 3 today, there'll be 3 tomorrow, and then there's 8 across Canada. For every day.
I want to interrupt for a moment, Danny, and I want to remind everybody viewing this. I would really very much appreciate it if you would tweet this video every 8 hours. Those of you who have Hootsuite can pre-program it. We have hashtags now running that are hashtag Hunger Strike and hashtag I Stand with Dan. Those are going. If you will tweet this every 8 hours, Dan's walked 75 miles and now he's not eating. The least I can do is set up my Hootsuite to tweet every 8 hours, which is already done. We're going to be asking everybody to do this. And also a reminder, you are joining us now from the Center for Men and Families. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and I just read through your article, and the Center for Men and Their Families has done exactly what their mandate is, and they've offered me shelter here, so I will not have to spend the nights on the streets.
Excellent. I'm glad for that. I knew that earlier your plans without other options were to be just sleeping in Queen's Park. I honestly hated that option. I hate the option of you're not eating. But I'm not going to question your judgment. I think you're brave and courageous to do what you're doing. Now let me ask you this, Danny. What has to happen to get you off of this hunger strike?
You know what? The demands need to be met. They are very reasonable demands. They've known the numbers, domestic violence against men. They know those numbers. And, the law is there. Section 300 of the Criminal Code. Criminal libel. If you intentionally print something is wrong, i.e. what Sharp magazine printed saying that I put out Big Red's personal information, which is, a lie. And I went to the Hamilton police and said, here's the information. And they still turned a blind eye to it. So basically my name is Google poisoned. I'd also point out Jeff Charlotte's little interesting version of events and creative take on reality.
That would be Jeff Charlotte from
and that was permitted to happen on CBC Radio, Canadian Broadcasting System. Well, that's great too, it's those 2 are the demands.
Would you settle, Dan, for a written statement from the government saying that they will begin an investigation into your demands?
Well, no. You know what? Every day that goes by, another 3 guys die in Ontario. Those numbers keep on rolling. There ain't stopping. Another 8 men across Canada. Why is my life any more important than any one of those guys? And they are 3 times the amount of me, right? There's 3 of them or 8 of them across Canada, but 3 of them in Ontario.
It's impossible to argue with you. Of course, I just got to tell you, for me personally, and I hate to say this, but it's true, but I know you, so you do matter more. But I really do respect the fact that you're speaking up for the voiceless right now. You're speaking up for those 8 men who are silenced forever, every day, and who your government is ignoring, just like the United States government ignores the 25 plus veterans a day that kill themselves in this country, on top of the actual suicide rate in the general population. So it's impossible to argue with you, but I would argue that people that know you and care about you do feel more compassion, but I also know that they believe in what you're doing. We just want you to survive the experience, and that's the outcome that we're hoping for.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not running towards death. I don't like it. I don't want to die. But it kind of comes down to this. In 1982, when my brother killed himself, the government was negligent. Okay, and my family chose not to sue them, take out civil remedy. We chose not to, and things haven't changed since then. It's time for change. I'm here to say enough's enough. Now, I'm going to point out something else. If you remember, I believe it was September 28, 2012, you were up here. We were at Queen's Park before?
Yes, sir. I was.
Correct?
Yes, sir, I was.
Okay. Now, you remember there was a bunch of, disgraceful idiots dancing on the monument.
Oh, the bash back group.
The soldiers that gave them the right to, protected their right to free speech and freedom.
I remember those idiots.
Yeah, yeah. So, to correct that situation. Yeah, to correct that situation, since this was our second visit there and our first trip back. On there, but I just laid them there. Okay, I didn't peel them off. They're just sitting there under the flowers. And
for those of you that did not hear that, because Dan's audio is somewhat interrupted, the audio connection here is not what it could be. But for those of you who didn't hear it, Dan went back to the Legislative Assembly. There is a monument to Canada's war dead out there, which a group protesting a men's rights rally showed up and were basically disgracing that monument. Dan went back there today and he laid flowers at the base of that monument in honor of the men who had lost their lives, and as an effort to correct the disgrace of the group called Bashback and their absolute callous disregard for those who had died for their Charter of Freedoms. I just wanted to get that in there, Dan, so everybody knew.
Yeah, I maybe the ambient noise is coming. I had the door open. It's kind of a closed off area. It heats up pretty quick in here, so maybe we can correct that. I hope that corrects that problem.
No, it's the internet connection, Dan. It's not ambient noise. The audio is stalling, but there's nothing you can do about that, and I'm sure everybody understands.
Okay. Now, so there's a couple of motivating factors there. Now, when I went up to hand the documents, I had given them a heads up that I was coming. The first thing I did is that we stopped off at the local police station, and a bunch of us walked in, Jeb included. I handed the documents to the desk, the duty desk there. I explained the situation. I said, I'm here to honor you good, you good honorable men who are, killing themselves at deplorable rates. And, I'm here for you guys. I'm here to protect you because you're there to protect and serve us.
Excellent. And they are.
And then from there, we moseyed on up to the Queen's Park. And, of course, I was stickering. And the base step there. And I took a knee. Me and Jeb, sat there beside me, and I took a knee, and I just held it out like this, head down. I was here to serve. I'm here to bring the voices of those who silenced themselves, and also the loved ones that I encountered through the 5 different cities that I walked through. The stories were there: the uncle, the brother, the friend, the father. These men within the communities, at work. In social circles and in families, and it just kind of it just seemed wrong not to hammer home the point. And this is the best pacific way or nonviolent way that I could figure to do it. Gandhi changed the country by doing something like this. Well, I'm only asking for Ontario.
Well, that's a pretty big ask at this point to get any community, state, province, whatever, people to care. I mean, it's amazing to me because we're not just talking about men, we're talking about sons, we're talking about fathers, we're talking about brothers, we're talking about husbands, we're talking about people that are integral, important parts of the community. But the moment you try to address them as having issues that are related to men's life, that's when the ears automatically close off, as you experience at a couple of police departments on the way up here. It's actually quite mind-boggling when you think about it. And we saw the same thing in the death of Earl Silverman, that there was some media attention to it, and then it was just like it never happened. I don't know what it's going to take to get everybody's attention or to get enough people to pay attention, but I'm betting that Dan Perrins is one who is not going to quit trying.
Kind of choppy there, Paul, a little bit. I caught as much as betting.
Well, I've said I was betting that you were the one that would not ever quit trying to get people to look at these issues. And again, I got to apologize, folks, for the audio quality here. Again, this is out of my control, out of Dan Perrins' control. We planned to do this, but there wasn't a lot of setup there. The availability of a strong internet connection was not quite possible, obviously, for us. But we will be talking to Dan about this more and reporting on this, even if I have to come on and talk about it without Dan. As he progresses in this strike, we're going to be reporting on this regularly. We're also going to keep there's an article I put up at avoiceformen.com. It's the super featured one, the largest image on the front page of the site right now about this. And we are going to leave that up there until Dan gets his way. We're not going to change anything because Dan's way is our way. We want him to get his way on this. It's time for the Canadian government to wake up and start taking care of its citizens, not just its women.
Absolutely. Yeah, getting back to the story there. At first, they wouldn't receive it. I said, that's fine. I will sit here. I will invoke my rights under Section 2 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms to protest. And my former protest will be a hunger strike. I kind of figured that they might be a little negative about receiving my documents, and so as I was walking, I was kind of thinking, well, if I do this, then I was trying to play out what they were going to do. If this situation happens, or if I move this way, are they going to move that way, or whatever? And a little bit of speculation. I guess there was a little bit of a silent standoff, shall we say, a respectful silent standoff. Maybe about half an hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And then finally, they sent out a representative to take the documents, and we agreed to terms. Now, I will be from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Because they don't want people protesting there overnight. I said, okay, that's fair enough. I got no problems, moseying back. Although I may not make it, after a few days, I probably, won't be coming back to the center. I'll just probably park it, near sidewalk across the street from. It'll be, I won't have the energy. I know I won't. I miles. I know I dropped weight. That's fine. And, this is the situation. I basically, it's your move, Ontario. Do you want to continue to bury half the population at, 3 a day? Or are you willing to stop that carnage? And I can't help but think that if it was women who were doing this, we would have what's called they'd be calling it an epidemic. But apparently it's men, so it's just like hush hush, sweep it under the rug. It didn't happen. It's not happening. Don't pay attention to the elephant-sized gravestone in the room.
How true, how true. So now we want everybody to understand, Dan, you are not going to abstain from liquids because you're going to have to take in nutrition. You, in the heat that you're in up there right now, you would quickly dehydrate and die. So
too choppy, Paul. I can't really.
Okay, I'll make it a statement.
Yeah, my terms. Okay, so my terms. My terms. Okay, drink black coffee, black tea, water. Basically, no sustenance. And I'll just sit there silently. I don't, you know, it's not my silence that is shameful. It's the response from the Ontario government that is shameful. If they continue to be silent, then, you know, they bring themselves into dishonor. Okay, I've come to them with facts, as you know, the best facts that are out there. I've come to them, you know, on the anniversary of my brother's suicide and close to the anniversary of Earl's suicide. There are, you know, I don't have a family, okay? You know, I don't have children or anything like that, right? But you know what? Some of those guys do, and you know, I just can't, in good conscience, let this opportunity slide by. Okay, it is too. I don't know. It's too. It's just like it's too gelled. It's just too perfect together. Like, you know, falls on the anniversary of my brother's death. I arrived at, you know, I had to rush to get here because the heat was coming up. The stories that I heard all through the 5 boroughs were incredibly tragic, or 5 cities were incredibly tragic. And, you know, there was nobody, you know, here I am listening. I'm just an average Dan on the street. I'm the average Dan on the street. And, you know, why aren't these politicians serving their constituents? Why aren't they doing something for half of, you know, their constituents? I just don't get it. You know, is it they're afraid to? Because, you know, we do know that people are afraid to come out and say, hey, wait a minute.
Okay, folks, I'm really sorry. It appears that Dan is just frozen up there again. His audio is not coming through. Let me take this opportunity to move on and ask. I want to make an appeal to the people. I know that Toronto has a lot of men's advocates in it. We want to track, ABFM wants to track what's going on with Dan Perrins on a regular basis. We want to stay totally on top of this thing. If there is anybody out there in Toronto that is known to our group that can offer Dan a station with a good, solid, direct into modem internet connection so that we can have him back again and again to talk about what's going on. There's a lot of people that are concerned. There's a lot of people that are not just concerned about the suicide problem and the domestic violence problem that's going on in Canada, but also that are concerned about Dan and that want to keep on top of this and will watch these videos so they can know how Dan is doing and so that they can check the progress of his effort. So if there's anybody out there, please contact me at paul@avoiceformen.com and let me know that you are willing to go get Dan and to put him in front of a really good internet connection and camera so that he can do Hangouts with us and report as he goes along. Again, it's that's the least we can do is dedicate some time to this, and your time to allowing Dan access to your computer so that he can do these Hangouts with us, because I have a feeling we're going to be doing several of them. Dan, the connection on this is really not so good, and I'm concerned that there are several people that are not the viewers that are not getting to hear everything you're saying. So let's try again. If it continues to freeze up, I want to get my minute with Justin. And then we're going to go ahead and close out, and then we're going to do some outreach and try to find somebody there that can get you wired into a good connection to get this done. Are you with us, Dan?
Do this over the phone.
Okay.
I am with you a little bit here and there. Why don't we do this over the phone? They know what I look like. You know, people know what I look like. Geez, I'm hard to miss. I'm pretty damn ugly, so I'm pretty hard to miss.
I don't think a lot of people would agree with you, but I know I certainly don't. Will you be able to do another one of these tomorrow about the same time?
Well, after 6, that's when I'm no longer, they've asked me to leave at 6 o'clock, and I've agreed to those terms. We now have terms in play, and I will respect those terms, and they're respecting those terms as well. So we're in agreement. Now it's it's a matter of for most honorable Premier Gwynn and that legislature, most honorable legislature, to stand up and say men matter and prove it. I don't want lip service. I want to see action.
Well, just phenomenal effort on your part, Dan. How about this? I will call you and to let everybody know that tomorrow night at 6:30 Eastern time, I will be calling Dan. I will call his cell phone via Skype, record the call. As soon as that's done, I will put it unedited up at my channel on YouTube, on a Voice for Men's channel. And we will also post it to the website, as we will be doing with this video tonight, as soon as YouTube processes it. And we want to get a chance, after I've been able to watch this, to know what people missed from it. Tomorrow night when we talk, I will go over those points so you will be able to hear Dan's words clearly and to know exactly what's going on. Again, apologies for the connection issues. We want to do this right, so we're going to start tomorrow night, and then like I said, we're going into somewhat of a lockdown mode at ABFM. This is the only project that matters at this moment, is what Dan Perrins is doing, and we're going to stay on this until it's done.
And Auntie Miss Andrew will be featuring this as well, I imagine, Cafe. And what I'm asking the greater manosphere to do is turn the heat up on this. Okay, this is where we can take back humanity for men. This is where we can take back and ensure that they are treated better in the future. Because right now, presently,
by all means, men's rights community, call the media in Toronto. Tell them that there's a man who is starving himself over these issues. And where he is. Get the media down there. When the media starts asking questions of governments, when somebody's life is at stake, literally, because look, folks, a hunger strike is not a kid's game. It is a very serious matter. It can be life-threatening. People have died on hunger strikes. We don't want that to happen to Dan. So the way that we help prevent that, get the media down there to talk to Dan Perrins and to talk to Cafe, and so that they can be filled in on what's going on.
I'd like to build upon people have died. Bobby Sands, he changed the way Irish prisoners were treated by the British by a hunger strike. Now, it cost him his life, but it was successful. So if that's that's the way it is, that's the way it is. It only brings shame upon and dishonor upon the premier and this government, this current government. So the choice is theirs. I'm being very, very reasonable. I'm only asking that men be treated equally, and that that we are offered protection under the law, which is guaranteed under sections 15 and 28 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's also in the preamble too. It says that it's Canada's a nation built upon the supremacy of God and the rule of law. Now, some of you are atheists. That's fine. The rule of God, or the supremacy of God, does not apply, but the rule of law is God in the courts. Okay, so I think that's atheists and religious people can agree both on that one.
Yes.
The rule of law should be sacrosanct in courts.
And anybody looking at these issues,
I'm just going to sit here and do that.
Anybody looking at these issues fairly knows full well that the Canadian government is not following the law. They are way out of bounds of the law, and they have been for a long, long time. If you've got $143 million a year annually to fund shelters for violence victims, but you only give it to one sex, that's against the law in Canada. It is illegal, and it needs to be changed.
Absolutely. Well, they're hiding behind some, some creative subsets. Okay, and it's that a program that was created to ameliorate a problem is not considered discrimination. well, the program is discriminating in that it's just sucking all the money out there for abuse victims into one side. So really they've created a problem where now they should be discriminating against women's shelters because there are no men's shelters. So now they need to, now they've set themselves up to discriminate against women's shelters according to the law. I believe it's Section 15(2) of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. According to that law, now they have to discriminate against, according to the law, discriminating against women's shelters to produce men's shelters. I'm saying don't discriminate. Just treat us equally.
Absolutely right, Dan Perrins. And with that, I'm going to let us go. I was going to talk to Justin Trottier of Cafe at the end of this, but again, I will contact Justin, and Danny, if you would pass along to Justin what's been happening here. I'll contact Justin and try to set up another hangout with him under better circumstances. But at any rate, tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern Time, I will be recording an interview with Dan, and I will, as quickly as possible, get that up and onto my YouTube channel and onto avoiceformen.com so that you'll be able to hear this. And if you missed anything, or missed quite a bit probably from this interview, you will hear a great deal more tomorrow. I've interviewed Dan via phone, and it works just fine. We just don't get to see his pretty face, and we don't get to see the epic beard from hell that we like watching when Dan talks, but we'll get there. Dan, any last words you want to offer before we sign off on this?
You know what? Carry what I'm doing, okay, and not the hunger strike, but carry forth what I'm doing, promoting the men's mental health. Point to what's going on here in Canada. Shame your own country into addressing that men's mental health issue. It's similar rates around the world. Some there's some fluctuations here and there, but very in first world nations, it's unacceptable. It's our sons and fathers. They are our relations. They are our friends. They are our co-workers. Our neighbors. It's got to stop. If it don't stop, then I guess I'll stop eventually, one way.
Yes, folks, and if you live in Canada, or more specifically, especially in Ontario, and if you've lost someone in your past, a man to suicide, and you're prepared to watch this man go through a lengthy hunger strike without calling your government and calling them out on what's going on, then I can only suggest that you might want to take a look at your values. This is a serious problem. 3 men a day going down. And it's not that all these suicides can be prevented, but the fact of the matter is that these suicides are going on and nobody's paying attention to it at all. I mean, zero. There is one page on men's health on the Canadian website, the government website, and there's 11 pages for women, Danny?
Absolutely. You can at least, well, they may have changed it within the last week or two, but if you look back to my article, Suicide, the Problem They Claim to Be Working On but Aren't, it's all right there. And they've known about it since 1995, and they were told to, the commission paper said, hey, look after men, and the government ignored it then, and it happened again in 2012. Look after men. Here we are 3 years later. They're still, they barely budged. So, all right, I guess we should give, help out guys since, 3 years, about, 8,000 guys off themselves or something around there. It's about 2,700 a year. So,
that's an epidemic.
$8,000.
That's an epidemic of unnecessary death, and it's time to do something about it. Danny, just know that we're behind you. We love you. We're on your side, and we want, by hook or crook, we want the Canadian government to stop and take a look at what Dan Perrins is doing and why, and follow your moral imperatives, or do so at the destruction of 3 Canadian families a day. Dan, thank you so much.
Paul, actual, disrespect them. They have been respectful so far. Do not disrespect them. That's all I ask. if you're going to write them to them. Honorable is their term. Okay, let them keep that term and prove that they are honorable by.
Sage advice from the beard of knowledge. With that, folks, we're going to go. Danny, I wish you well, and I'm looking forward to talking to you tomorrow.
Right on. Thank you, sir. Take care, folks. Look after each other. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.